Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today we'll be diving into an action thriller movie titled The Taking of Pelham 123. Enjoy the recap. Our tale kicks off with an enigmatic character who goes by the name Ryder, teaming up with his sidekicks Boschkin, Emery, and a past subway conductor named Phil Ramos. Their target, the New York City Subway 6 train, Pelham 123, right at the heart of 77th Street. Ryder, displaying an eerie patience, waits for the train and its passengers to settle in before making his move. As the train pulls in, each member of Ryder's crew nonchalantly boards, strategically positioning themselves near the front entrance. As the clock strikes 1:59 p.m., we find Ryder descending into the depths of the 51st Street station, knowing that his team is in place and ready for his cue. He plants himself beside a motorman named Jerry Pollard, seemingly innocuous until Jerry asks him to move for better visibility. Without warning, Ryder whips out a gun and thrusts it at Jerry's head, demanding immediate access or threatening fatal consequences. A terrified Jerry unlocks the door, only to be knocked out cold by Ryder. With the doors secured, Phil takes control of the train, deftly navigating it through the tunnels. The rest of the crew, including Ryder, bide their time, bracing for the next phase of their plan. As Pelham 123 continues its relentless journey beneath 51st Street, Ryder and his gang spring into action. While the train remains unstoppable, Boschkin trails the conductor Regina towards the front of the train, heralding the start of their audacious mission. The next stage of the plan unfolds as Phil demands the cutting key from Jerry. Simultaneously, an employee of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Walter Garber, mounts the rail control center. He abruptly notices an anomaly. Pelham 123 is idle despite a clear path ahead. Attempting to reach out to Jerry for clarification, he's met with eerie silence, since Jerry has been taken captive by Ryder. As this is happening, Phil procures the cutting key and approaches Regina. With ruthless efficiency, the front car of the train is uncoupled below 51st Street, and Ryder, along with his crew, seize control of the frightened passengers. Reporting from the 42nd Street Tower, Walter urgently notifies the control center about a rogue train veering off course on the southbound Lexington Avenue line. He declares a temporary halt for all in-station trains and tries to reach Jerry once again, to no avail. The curious queries of a co-worker about the unfolding situation are met with Walter's taciturn silence. While on the hijacked train, a New York City Transit police officer approaches Phil and Boschkin, eager to assess the situation. Boschkin, fearing exposure, opens fire on the unsuspecting officer. The abrupt violence sends a shockwave of panic through the passengers, causing Emery to discharge his weapon into the air to restore order. The terrified passengers are directed to move against the window. In a tense exchange, Phil relays to Ryder that a police officer has been killed. Ryder takes charge, ordering Regina to activate the radio and instructing her to evacuate the passengers up to the platform. As the high-stakes drama continues, police officers swarm the train station while all passengers not in the front car are liberated. Meanwhile, Boschkin and Phil converge with Ryder and Emery in the rail car, joining their captive motorman and other hostages. Ryder, taking charge, instructs Phil to cut off the power from their location downwards. Suddenly, Walter is contacted by Ryder, who cryptically remarks that managing one car is easier than handling 10, given his current team. He gets Jerry to confirm over the radio that there are hostages in the first car. When Walter insists he isn't the one to grant Ryder's monetary demands, Ryder has a swift retort, instructing him to fetch a calculator to tally the ransom, a whopping $10 million in cash, to be delivered by the city's mayor within an hour. The stakes skyrocket when Ryder issues a grim threat. For every minute past the deadline, a hostage will be killed. Despite his reluctance, Walter is drawn into the negotiation, struggling to convince the mayor to acquiesce to Ryder's demands. He relays to Ryder that his message has been communicated to the mayor. As the negotiations unfold, Phil and Emery busy themselves setting up internet access in the tunnel, with Ryder poised over his laptop, waiting for the connection. In the midst of the pandemonium, Lieutenant Cameron Eddy from the New York City Police Department Emergency Services Unit makes his way to the control center to assess the situation. With 48 minutes left on the clock, Walter persists in relaying Ryder's demands to the authorities. When Cameron Eddy requests to engage with Ryder, Walter directs him to the blue button to establish communication. Yet, in an unexpected twist, Johnson intervenes and orders Walter to clock out for the day. Taken aback, Walter exits the scene without a word. Back on the train, Ryder's negotiation takes a dark turn when Cameron Eddy, replacing Walter, contacts him. Cameron Eddy's revelation that Walter has been removed from the control center enrages Ryder, causing him to execute Jerry in a chilling display of his resolve. He escalates his earlier threat, switching from a 60-minute late fee to a mere 60-second delay before executing another hostage unless Walter is reinstated. In the ensuing frenzy, Cam and Eddie scrambles to summon Walter back into the fray. As Walter returns to the control panel, he reconnects with Ryder, who chillingly informs him that there are only 39 minutes left before the deadline. Amid the frantic preparations to gather the $10 million ransom, Cam and Eddie discovers Walter is under investigation for allegedly accepting a $35,000 bribe over a new Japanese subway car contract during a trip to Japan. While this unfolds, Ryder keenly observes on his laptop as the Dow Jones Industrial Average plummets nearly 1,000 points in reaction to the hijacking, an act that starts to rattle his accomplices, particularly Phil, who begins showing signs of nervousness. Back at the control panel, Cam and Eddie queries Walter on how he became the primary contact for Ryder. Walter explains that his desk receives the Lexington Avenue line communications. Sensing something amiss, Cam and Eddie probes further, questioning why Ryder seems to be fixated on Walter. In a tense exchange with Cam and Eddie, Walter is taken aback when the line of questioning turns into an unexpected interrogation about whether he chose his assignment or it was given to him by Johnson. The situation in Pelham 123 intensifies as Phil uncovers details about Walter's case. Ryder, keen to learn more, scours the internet and uncovers the bribery allegations against Walter. Confronted by Ryder, Walter admits to being accused but maintains that he's still under investigation and has not been found guilty. Ryder, however, is unsatisfied with this response and prods Walter about the alleged bribe, challenging his claim of innocence. Threatening to execute a passenger unless Walter confesses, Ryder forces Walter's hand. Under immense pressure, Walter confesses that he was offered a bribe while choosing between two companies. He insists that he only made a recommendation, favoring the Japanese subway cars. Upon Ryder's inquiry about how the bribe money was used, Walter reveals he used it to pay for his children's college tuition. Choked with emotion, Walter's confession earns him a heartfelt thank you from a passenger whose life he's just saved. As the deadline inches closer, the mayor finally relents to Ryder's ransom demands. The police are set in motion to prepare the delivery of the money. In an unexpected turn of events, Leo, one of the hostages, manages to connect his laptop to the internet from inside the tunnel. This newfound connection enables him to establish a video call with his partner. In a bold move, Leo asks his partner to broadcast their call on a streaming site while alerting the news. This innovative strategy provides the control center with a live feed of Ryder and Phil, allowing them a closer look at the unfolding situation. Cam and Eddie then enlists Walter's help in a risky game of rodeo clowns, giving him a quick lesson in hostage negotiation. Things heat up when Ryder, in a brazen move, proposes a trade to the mayor, his own life for the safety of all the passengers on the train. But the mayor flatly rejects the offer, angering Ryder, who asserts that the ransom should already be on the train and threatens to start executing the hostages. Walter quickly tries to pacify Ryder, assuring him that the ransom is en route. While this drama unfolds, Cam and Eddie is working to gather information on Phil, who was previously incarcerated for manslaughter. But a hitch occurs when the police car carrying the ransom money is involved in an accident, creating a delay in the delivery. Upon hearing the news, Walter attempts to bluff Ryder, saying that the ransom has already arrived, not realizing that Ryder is keeping tabs on the situation through his laptop. Walter, trying to distract Ryder, asks about his association with Phil. Simultaneously, Cam and Eddie signals his team to prepare for action. However, Ryder cuts short the conversation, impatient to get his hands on the ransom money. Disaster strikes again when the last police car carrying the money crashes, and in response, Ryder threatens 7 hostages, including a child's mother. A former soldier among the hostages bravely offers himself as the next victim. Despite Walter's pleas that the accidents were unforeseen, Ryder coldly decides to execute the soldier. A chaotic gunfight breaks out when an emergency services unit sniper is accidentally bitten by a rat, leading to a panic discharge of his weapon that kills Phil. Enraged, Ryder radios Walter, declaring that another life must be paid for Phil's. In a surprising twist, he demands that Walter personally deliver the ransom money, setting a tight 7-minute deadline for the delivery. Cam and Eddie and Walter scramble to get a helicopter to transport the money. Upon landing, they ensure that a radio line to the train is established and an officer guides Walter to the hijacked train. Before Walter leaves, he is given a pistol for self-protection and a crash course on how to use it. Meanwhile, in the control center, a police officer reports on Ryder's history. It's revealed that Ryder was released from Clinton Correctional just 2 weeks prior, and he spent his last 4 years in the same cell block as Phil Ramos. His real name is revealed to be Dennis Ford, a former manager at a private equity firm who was convicted of investment fraud. Interestingly, Ford was originally supposed to serve a 3-year plea bargain, but he ended up serving a full decade. When Walter finally delivers the money to Ryder, he's coerced into joining Ryder aboard the train and ordered to operate it down the tunnel below 33rd Street. Even though he's loath to help Ryder, Walter has no choice but to comply. However, a new complication arises when Ryder notices red lights that could trip the train's brakes. He radios Cam and Eddie urgently, asking for the lights to be turned green. After reaching 33rd Street, Ryder and his accomplices, including Walter, exit the train. Ryder cleverly rigs the train to continue moving without them, causing further panic and confusion. Walter, however, manages to separate himself at a railway crossing and decides to follow Ryder discreetly to track 61 underneath the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Meanwhile, Ryder parts ways with Boschkin and Emery after they divide the ransom money. Back on the runaway train, the passengers in the first car are thrown into chaos as the train accelerates. In a stroke of luck, the train screeches to a halt just before the Coney Island station, sparing the lives of the passengers on board. The police, believing Ryder and his crew are still aboard the train, are shocked to find them missing. Cam and Eddie, upon realizing their first stop was at the Roosevelt Spur, which leads to a long-abandoned tunnel under the Waldorf Hotel, deduces their actual location. Ryder, having successfully evaded the police, hails a taxi. Unbeknownst to him, Walter has been tailing him and continues to do so on foot. Meanwhile, Boschkin and Emery find themselves cornered by the police. They decide to go down shooting, provoking the police officers to use deadly force, resulting in their deaths. As this unfolds, Walter manages to steal a car to continue following Ryder's taxi. In a startling revelation, it is discovered that Ryder, through his elaborate scheme, has managed to amass a staggering $307 million. As Ryder enjoys his ill-gotten gains in the taxi, Walter tenaciously chases him. During the pursuit, Walter contacts 911 to inform Cam and Eddie of Ryder's location, heading towards the Manhattan Bridge. A fortunate traffic jam allows Walter and the police to close in on Ryder quickly. Catching up to Ryder at the pedestrian walkway of the bridge, Walter bravely confronts him, holding him at gunpoint. In a tense standoff, Ryder challenges Walter to pull the trigger within a 10-second window, or he'll kill Walter. Faced with this grim ultimatum, Walter summons the courage to shoot Ryder in the final moments. With his last breaths, Ryder offers a strange compliment, telling Walter that he is his hero. Walter can only look on as Ryder collapses and dies in front of him. High above them, Cam and Eddie watches approvingly from a helicopter, acknowledging Walter's brave actions. In the aftermath, the mayor publicly thanks Walter for his selfless efforts in stopping the hijackers single-handedly. He also assures Walter that the city of New York will support him regarding his earlier bribery confession, offering a promising outlook for his future. Overwhelmed, Walter gratefully shakes hands with the mayor. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.